Hello, Oracles. Well, Tesla stock is down over 8.5% today on rumors that the Robotaxi event is going to get delayed. Now, we're going to get into some details about that. That I think is just going to be a small piece of why it was down today. But we'll get into some things about, the entire macro environment was a bit uneasy today. A lot of the mega caps were down significantly today. And I think Tesla just overreacted more than usual to that movement because of the rumor that came out. So we'll get into all that in a minute, discussing all of these different things, what it truly actually is going to mean for the stock price in the near term, long term, all of that. We'll get into that in just a minute. If you guys like this kind of content, please hit that like button down below. All right, so looking at the candlestick today, this monster red candlestick all the way down. We were down 8.44% on the day to 241.03. Now, as we discussed the other day, we have gaps that go down to 234.25, filling down to that 231 level. And then down below that, there's 213 to 218 and that gap there. So is this going to be a little bit of a clearing move that's going to fill these two gaps? Again, we still have yet to see what's going on with this. This is a one-day movement, so you really can't get a lot of information off of this. But when you start looking across the board, Google was down almost 3% on the day. Apple was down 2.3% on the day. Microsoft was down 2.5% on the day. Meta was down 4% on the day. Nvidia was down 5.5% on the day. So this move in Tesla, Tesla usually moves more than everything anyway. So again, this move down is significant to a lot of people looking at it, 8.5%. But realistically, when you look at it compared to all of its peers, it really wasn't that much more than all of its peers. And not only that, but we don't even have confirmation that this is delayed. Tesla hasn't come out, Elon hasn't come out to debunk it, but we haven't had them confirm it either. This is just a Reuters article that Bloomberg also put out stating that sources familiar with the information are stating this. We've seen it time and time again that this information comes out and it's not true. So again, until there's actual confirmation, this is just rumor. But realistically, let's say it is true. Let's say it does get delayed until October. What is 2 months really going to matter? It's not. Because even if Tesla did come out with something viable with a prototype in August, it's just a prototype. It's not going to be truly what's hitting the road. We're not going to get that fundamental information of here is the clear-cut timeline and factual proof that we are going to have it at that timeline. We're not going to be getting hey, here's the regulations that we've come up with when it comes to individual cities or when it comes to the whole entire nation itself. We're not going to be able to get dollar amount information to put into valuation models to come up with, oh, now this is a number that we could put on our valuation models to then price it into our price targets. We were not going to get any of that information in August, and we're not going to get any of that information in October. So even if this rumor is true, it truly does not matter either way. All that matters is that we know long-term robotaxis are going to be a reality. This is not going to be denied. You're going to have robotaxis be a reality. Yeah, maybe the timeline on it as to when it's actually going to become a reality could be discussed. Is it going to be next year? Is it going to be 2026, 2028? Nobody knows for sure until it actually happens. But the reality is it's actually going to happen. So for long-term investors, which most of you are, it doesn't matter for you when it's going to happen. As a matter of fact, if anything, the longer it takes, that gives us more time to buy more shares. So as far as I am concerned, based upon my strategy, which again, I'm doing a lot of cash flow type of investments when it comes to real estate and my dividend stocks, I can build up that cash flow to be able to buy even more Tesla stock ahead of that. Now, that's just me personally based upon what I am currently looking to do. And I know some of you have just bought all the shares and you would love for it to go up next week. You would love for Robotaxi to come out next year and you can see the shares, quadruple in price, and then you guys can go ahead and enjoy the rest of your lives. I get it. We're all in different situations, but that's my personal situation. And reality is, I don't think we are going to see this become an actual reality till probably end of 2025 or beginning of 2026. That's just what I think is really what's going to happen. And that's going to be at the very earliest. So again, timeline-wise, nobody knows for sure what's going on. Even Elon probably doesn't know, which is why he hasn't come out to debunk this rumor, because I'm sure in typical Elon fashion, he is pushing his team way ahead of a pace that they are comfortable with to try and get this out. Because think about it realistically. The way Elon has worked all over the place, whether it's SpaceX or Tesla or wherever, he gives his team a timeline and says, I need you to make this happen by this date. And it's realistically probably not an actual timeline that can be achieved. However, if he did not push them to get to that timeline as it was, that may have taken them a year or two more versus a month or two more. So that's just how Elon works. And that's why Elon himself has said if he wasn't at the helm of Tesla, they would still be fine. They would still be a successful company. But he is that accelerator behind them that speeds up that process. So, very much like Steve Jobs was with the iPhone and all of the Apple stuff back in the early iPhone days, Elon is doing that with Tesla now when it comes to everything that they're doing with Tesla as well. So that's just where we're at right now with this. Again, it's just a rumor. We don't know for sure. Still have yet to see. At the time of this recording, I checked right before I came on to see if there was any information on X. Still haven't seen anything. So if you guys do happen to see something, please put it in the comments below to let us know whether we have a confirmation or a denial of this rumor. So again, the movement from the stock itself was going to move either way. I think regardless of whether we got this information or not, we were going to see a pullback of at least 5% in Tesla today based upon how we saw all of its peers move and all of the other mega caps move. Now, conversely, we saw a bunch of small caps moving up on the day. So are we looking at a massive sector shift going on when it comes to money? Again, last 5 years or so, we've seen small caps really kind of failing. They haven't done anything except for go down. And now all of a sudden we're seeing a little bit of movement up and we're seeing the mega cap starting to move. So are we starting to see that shift? Again, the majority of the S&P 500 has been moving up. Most of the indices that have the Magnificent Seven in them have been moving up because of the Magnificent Seven. Everything else in the market, you look at a bunch of other stocks like retailers, Nike, McDonald's has been going down, Starbucks has been falling down. A lot of these retail and consumer-based companies have been falling over the last several months, if not several years. It's been a rough ride for all of them. Now, my personal thought on this is this could be a lead into a potential recession, or maybe we're already in one right now. And what ends up happening is we start seeing those recession signals that are going on at the moment, but the market doesn't react to it because nobody has actually acknowledged it yet. We haven't had the Fed come out or the government come out and say we are in a recession. We haven't seen the data that comes out to say that we are in a recession. What ends up happening is because the data is so lagging and the effects that the Fed makes when it comes to interest rate hikes and cuts are so lagging as well. By the time we actually get that information, or by the time those interest rates actually take effect, we're already past a recession. So now all of a sudden the Fed is trying to speed up and catch up to that by cutting rates faster, but we're already in that recession. And typically right before that happens, you see the yield curve flip. We've been inverted for quite a while now. I think 2-ish years or so. Correct me if I'm wrong on the length of time that we've been inverted on the yield curve. But all of a sudden you see it flip back and it reverts. That right after that moment is when we start to see that recession kick in. We get that data that's been lagging and we see it all. And then all of a sudden the market reacts to that information and we go down from there. So perhaps the market has actually been reacting ahead of time by selling off these consumer stocks because the numbers just aren't there in their earnings. That could potentially be happening right now. And then what ends up happening is when you're in a recession, you want those type of value plays. Those value plays are going to be the steady ones that are going to hold for you. You're going to get those dividends coming in. So you're at least going to counteract some of the fall when it comes to the entire stock market because you have some income coming in. You have that income coming in, you can then buy more as it's lower. That is one of the main reasons why I switched over my investing from all growth to heavy dividend investing so I could cash flow generation. Because if we do get this recession, and we typically get one every 10 years or so, if we get that, I will have that cash flow coming in to be able to take advantage of all of these opportunities that are going to be out there. So I'm maximizing my cash flow to take advantage of these opportunities. Tesla is one of those opportunities that I think is going to be taking place if we get to that point. Now, again, I don't know if we're going to get a recession, but there's so many signals pointing to that potential happening that I want to be ready for it. That's what I have prepared for. So I've got this preparation going with all of my dividends. I've got Tesla stock coming here now. I'm seeing it dipping down, following the gaps to see what levels it may come down to see if I want to add a little bit more or just wait a little bit longer. Again, I'm not trying to time the market. I'm just trying to see if it's worth adding now or if I should just wait a little bit longer to add later. I still have tons of Tesla stock as it is in my portfolios. And I'm just going to kind of wait to see if I want to add it, kind of building up cash right now. I'm around 3% cash in my portfolios right now. So just kind of waiting on that to see what I want to do. But again, that's my strategy, not financial advice. You guys do what's best for you in your portfolios. So again, you guys can let me know in the comments below if you think this is a rumor or if you think this is factual information about the Robotaxi delay. You can also let us know if you think it even matters that it's going to get delayed if it does end up getting delayed. Quite honestly, I don't think it's going to matter. And not only that, but the amount of times we've had, FSD and we're going to have, full autonomy by this year, by next year, by next year, by next year. It's happened so many times. I think at this point, it's kind of like the boy who cried wolf. People are like, yeah, whatever. We'll wait till it's actually here and it doesn't matter. And even if you give us a prototype, cool. Now we've seen the prototype. As far as I'm concerned, the prototype is really just going to give us a better idea of what the compact car is going to look like. And if we can get any sort of information off of that, that could potentially add into the valuation models of people by seeing the footprint of the Robotaxi because it's most likely going to be the same as the compact car. That's what they've told us. So I'm going to go by what they have told us. And if that's the case, then we can start factoring that in as far as the compact car goes, but not the Robotaxi revenue, at least not yet. And another signal that I looked at this morning when it came to the recession potential is the CPI data we got this morning. That came in cooler than expected, which you would think is a good thing, seeing inflation coming down, and it is. But on the month over month, we came in at negative 0.1%. That's deflationary numbers. Deflation is not good either because that is definitely a recessionary signal. I have no doubt the Fed is looking at this. So, do we get a rate cut in July? Are they going to do it in September? Or are they going to wait until November just to make sure that nobody says it was a political move at all? I don't know, because personally, if I'm seeing this data coming through right now and they wait until November, it might be too late. I think if they were smart, they would do a rate cut in July of 25 basis points. It's not going to make a major impact on the market, and it's going to still take time for them to be able to get themselves down to the lower levels. So they could do a 25 basis point hike in July, then wait until November to do a second one, and then kind of see where the data is at that point. Sort of like they did with the rate hikes, where they kind of went out real, hardcore balls to the wall fast, and then kind of slowly trickled off. If they just reverse that pace on the way down, that might be the smartest way for them to go. So maybe one in July, wait, another one in November, and then they'll take a look. And if the data says that they should do another one in December, they'll do it. If not, they wait and then do one in January. That's my personal feeling on that. Again, I'm not the Fed. I don't have all the data that's out there, but I have a feeling they may kind of reverse course unless we do get the data that comes in that says we're in a recession. If unemployment all of a sudden jumps up significantly, they might do some bigger rate cuts. But again, even if they do a 25 basis point hike in July, we're not going to see the effects of that until December, most likely. And even then, the effects are going to be so minimal, it's not really going to matter. And at that point, we might end up getting the, sell the news type of situation in July. And that means that the August 8th event that could have taken place, or if it still is, or whatever, wouldn't have mattered anyway. And now, if we do end up having that event taking place in October during the middle of the election volatility when it comes to the market, we might, not even notice any effects whatsoever when it comes to the Robotaxi event and the stock price. So I think that September, October timeframe is going to be dominated by the macro environment. And no matter what ends up happening with Tesla stock itself and what they do is really going to matter whatsoever. So those are just my predictions at the moment of what I'm looking at. Obviously, things can change. As an investor, you need to be very agile and move with when you get information, especially if you're a trader. Long-term investors don't matter. You guys think Robotaxis coming long-term? Buy the damn stock now. Because if Robotaxis are going to come to fruition and they are going to pay out like Elon thinks that they're going to pay out, we're going to see at least a 4x in the stock shortly after Robotaxis do come to reality. So that's my thoughts on that. You guys can let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support. Have a great one.